we've spent a lot of time telling you things we do not spend money on. But have you ever wondered what we do spend money on? We're going to tell you coming up next. Hi, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
From Under the Median. We raised our 4 sons debt-free on an income which was consistently under the U.S. national average income. We got really good at spending less money and saving more money. But there are a certain number of things that we just do not compromise on, and some of you have been asking us about what those things are. So tonight, we are going to share 7 of them. All right, Larry.
I can't wait.
Your turn. You get to start with the first one because, y'all, this is Larry's thing.
This is my favorite. Well, we get good coffee. There's a lot of good brands of coffee. Of course, Starbucks comes to mind.
Starbucks does come to mind.
But this is Verena Street coffee. Here, we'll zoom in on it. Manual zoom. We get that from Sam's. And I think we pay just under $12 for 2 pounds of that. And this is whole bean. This is the Mississippi grog. Oh my gosh, it's good.
I will read the what it says, the description. I'll read it in my radio announcer voice. Okay, ready, guys? Mississippi grog is a warm and inviting blend of butterscotch, caramel, and hazelnut. There, did you like that? All right, so that's what, and that's kind of our favorite,
that's good
kind of coffee too, like the flavor. So we want to know that we are willing to spend good money on good coffee. That is number one thing, good coffee.
And that is cheaper than Starbucks. I think it's about half the price.
It's a little bit cheaper, yeah. Now, if you like Verena Street or you're interested in it, they actually have a website online and you can order it like a monthly ordering club thing. It's a little bit more to have it delivered to your house, like $2 or $3 more for 2 pounds than it is to buy it at Sam's. But if you're not near a Sam's and you're not a member, it's still really, really great coffee and you might be interested in it. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. All right, so good coffee was number 1. And we want to know from you, what's your favorite kind of coffee? If coffee's not your thing, tell us, your favorite brand of tea. All right. All right. Second thing that we really spend good money on is...
We spend money on good shoes. Now, my dad kind of got me onto this. He would buy Red Wing shoes, and they were very expensive. They were about triple the cost of a lot of other brands of shoes. And, of course, they're way up above what you would pay for shoes at places like, let's say, Walmart. But
let's say Walmart.
Walmart. These shoes, though, would last him years, and they were worth it. So when you look at the amount that went out for the shoes versus how long they lasted, they were actually a better buy.
Guys, we have done it before. We have decided, no, we can't spend that much money on shoes. We have bought cheap shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And the result was a year later.
Or less.
We went out and bought another pair of cheap shoes because they were completely and utterly worn out. They just didn't last. Now, do we always buy brand new shoes? Admittedly, Larry has a really hard to find shoe size. He wears a...
You've heard of Bigfoot, right? Yeah, well, here he is.
And this is Hope's shoe. See how big her foot is? Her foot is as big as my shoulder. See, it's as wide. That is a big foot.
Hey,
isn't it?
It's my nickname, man.
Yeah,
That's it.
Bigfoot. Yeah, this is for sure.
It's okay.
Yeah. Of course, then there's mine. Wait a minute.
Wait. We'll find his, okay?
Oh, here we go. Yes.
There.
There's mine.
Yeah. Big.
That is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel really good about that shoe, though.
Yeah, I do too.
Anyway.
Those took me up on the mountains.
I wear a size 14, so that's like a small canoe.
Yeah, so it's really hard to find used. Even if we could find it used, a lot of them are just they are worn out. So rather than even hassle with it, the honest truth is when his shoes wear out, we start looking on the internet for the best deal available on the name brand shoes that he really likes to wear, and he knows they're going to fit him well. He has a little bit of a foot condition, and because of that, he's really hard to fit too. So once he finds a brand and a style that he knows really fit him well, we kind of honestly feel like it is worth it to us just to stick with it,
Yeah.
because we've tried to change that around too, and it just doesn't work very well. So usually he's down to one style, one name brand, and he gets to maybe pick the color, and that's about as far as we go. Now, do we pay full price? We tend not to, and we're going to tell you how. We actually have a browser extension that we highly, and I do mean highly, recommend. There will be a link to this browser extension. It's called Honey, and it will be in the description of this video. So you will find our link to Honey right in the description of the video. So all you do is download it. It's a browser extension, and it automatically finds coupons for you. Now, as far as my feet are concerned, my feet are a whole lot easier to find really good quality name brand shoes, almost new, at thrift stores in my size, which is a lady's 6.5 or a 7. And I've actually been pretty successful at finding really great, really comfortable shoes and finding them used. But for Larry and the boys, not so much. So we've decided, you know what, shoes? It's one thing we're willing to spend money on. So number 3, what is the third thing that we are willing to spend our money on?
Well, we don't do too much of this now, but before we had kids, we did a lot of camping. We would take trips to like Yellowstone National Park, Grand Tetons, Mount Rushmore,
the Badlands.
Devil's Tower.
We actually saw the Badlands
Yeah.
from the car window on our way back home.
Well, we stopped and walked a little bit, I think.
Oh, did we?
I think
I don't
did.
remember.
It's been a while back.
But we saw them.
And we did a lot of weekend campings too, like over July the 4th or Labor Day weekend. We camped a lot with my parents too. They had a trailer.
We used to go to Mark Twain's hometown, Hannibal, Missouri.
Hannibal, Missouri.
Every 4th of July, they've got this huge like Mark Twain festival.
Mark Twain days.
And we would go and like camp and hang out with all the other Mark Twain fans.
It was a fun
at
weekend.
Hannibal. Yeah, we did it for several 4th of July weekends. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So
we did not compromise on camping equipment. And the brand that I favor the best is North Face. Now, they put a lot of good material into their products, and they back them up with at least they used to, I don't know if they still do, but they used to back them up with a lifetime guarantee. It's been a while since we've purchased any North Face. I'd have to look it up and see. But
now tell them our experience with North Face, though, and why we recommend them.
Well, I bought their cheaper line of geodesic dome tents, and I purchased this tent in 1987. And we were still using that tent when we were first married. Well, of course we were. We were just married a year later. That tent, it developed a problem with the zippers on the front, and we couldn't get it sealed up. It would leak. And so we had it in a rainstorm, and it was leaking. So we wrote to North Face, and they said, well, we're sorry. We don't make the Windy Pass tent anymore. We're going to have to send you our main brand tent, which was the Windy Pass was like a $250 tent. They sent us their $750 mainstay North Face geodesic dome tent. We still have that one.
Yeah.
So,
and it was a warranty issue. They sent it absolutely free
Absolutely
of
free.
charge.
Yeah.
They stood firmly behind their product. And Larry, by the way, guys, he doesn't tell that story as dramatically as I do. Because like we were in the mountains in a rainstorm, and the tent wouldn't zip, and he was very calm, cool, and collected. He's like, well, we'll figure this out. And I'm going, it's raining, and we can't get the tent to seal, and this is awful. So
she sounded like Laura Petrie.
I was freaking
from Dick Van Dyke.
I was freaking out, and he was like, he had tent camped for like decades,
Long time.
and he was like, yeah, we'll be fine.
Oh yeah. I've dealt with leaky tents before. Well, even the Windy Pass tent would leak on the bottom if it rained a lot. I had to dry out my stuff several times. I got photos of me drying out my sleeping bags on the top of the tent out in the mountains.
Interestingly, though, and I remember this. I don't know if Larry does or not. Tell me if you remember this. We were in another rainstorm. I don't know why these rainstorms like stick in my mind, but they do, guys. They
Galena?
were very traumatic.
Galena,
yes,
Illinois?
like lightning was like pouring down around us.
It was a raging storm.
Yeah, it was a little scary, I have to say.
Yeah.
But these people were camped next to us. They were down in like this little valley. And they had a really inexpensive, cheap tent. And the next morning, literally, like they were laying in inches of water in their tent. And we were we were totally dry.
Yeah.
As I recall, there was a little tiny, and I mean a tiny
Just a
rivulet,
little bit.
tiny little rivulet of water on the floor.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, you took a towel and wiped it up and we were done. We were like, yep, we're fine.
Well, and then we also bought really good pads. They were a styrofoam pad.
And the other thing we bought high quality, high end sleeping bags because we were sleeping. We knew we were going to go to the mountains, and the mountains get really cold.
I learned the hard way back in 1985 when I went out there, and I didn't really have a lot of experience camping up in high elevation. And I had I think it was a sleeping bag rated maybe down to 50 degrees. It wasn't good enough. And I had every stitch of clothing that I had brought with me on to sleep overnight because it got down to almost freezing because I was up in high elevations camping. So I learned to get a good, once again, a North Face 0 degree rated sleeping bag, and I bought one for Hope. It was one of the first things we bought after we got married. We got her one as well. So we both had these very warm sleeping bags, and they weren't too good for summer camping around here, but they were great in the mountains.
They were. So high quality camping gear. We paid really good money for it,
Yep.
and we used it hard, and it was worth every single penny.
No compromise.
All right, what's the next thing that we actually spend some money on?
Well, we do spend money on cars.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, you can buy cheap cars, and then you're going to be repairing them all the time. You get a high mileage older car, and there's nothing wrong with that. We've had some older cars, and but you do tend to maybe spend some time with them in the shop. There are cheaper brands of cars also that are not very reliable. So one of the things that I check is the reliability factor. And my research shows me that the two most reliable vehicles that you can buy are the Japanese cars, the Honda and the Toyota. And we have one of each of those now. And there are some other good, reliable cars. I'm not saying those are the only ones. But so we do put out a little bit more money on those. It tends to be worth it in the long run, as I hear stories of people with other brands of cars, and they have them in and out of the shop all the time. And we're not spending a lot of time with our cars in the shop except for normal routine maintenance. So it does pay off in the long run. And when you're going on a long trip, you do want good, reliable transportation.
And we don't spend like $40,000 on them, guys. I mean,
no.
we buy quality brands, and we tend to spend between $12,000 and $18,000 on a car when we replace a vehicle. Just in case you're wondering. All right. So the next thing that we tend to spend a lot of money on, and this is your purveyance as well, Larry. This is your area.
Well, electronics, I think it pays to buy good quality, and I do mean brand name electronics, televisions, phones, computers, all of the above. It just pays to spend good money on those, get good reliable equipment, good quality, something that's going to last. So you pay it once, it lasts a long time. In fact, we just replaced our old, and it was a very old Sony Triniton TV.
Really old. And we found it.
And the funny part of that story is we live in a nice neighborhood. It's a nice, little subdivision we live in. And I was driving home from work one day, and it would happen to be on garbage night, and somebody had thrown out their Sony Triniton. It had the date on the back. It was a 2002 25-inch color television set. So I picked it up, put it in the back of the car, brought it home, plugged it in. It worked perfectly. It had a real sharp picture on it. Now, it wasn't HD, so this would have been probably around 2012, maybe, that I think I found that. Mm. And we used that TV up until about 2 years ago. Yeah. And I had no money in that, but once again, it was a good brand. So we replaced that with our first HD set. And I ended up getting a 4K, kind of looking ahead, because once again, I'm not thinking of replacing that anytime soon. So we'll probably have that maybe 20 years. But I actually have, and I showed it in the video that I did about how Hope and I met, I actually have a Sony Triniton that goes back to 1987. So those once again, it just pays. The equipment that we use for all of our taping here, it's actually a tape camcorder. It's a mini DV Sony. It's also from 2002, and my computer is the same age. It's a 2002 computer, but we're going to get into that. That's the next category, isn't it?
Right. So the next category is we tend to spend money on computers because we buy Apple products.
When I started doing my video business, I was doing it with machines, with VCRs that had ability to edit the audio track right on the tape. But then when I switched to computers, I found a new, it was a brand new in the box, old stock. It was a G4 iMac. Apple iMac, and I paid $600 for that computer, even though it was about 6 years old when I bought it, and I had it. They updated the system software in it a little bit, so it runs a real old. It runs, for those with no computers, it's 10.4.11. That's a very old system. You can't go online with it anymore. But I use that with old hard drives. And this camcorder, they're all perfectly matched. So we're going to use that a while longer. We will eventually update to HD equipment, and I'm researching that right now. And I'm not going cheap. This camera that we use, it cost about $3,500 when it was new. So it's a good quality camera, and I'm expecting to spend about that much on a really good HD/4K Sony camera to replace it with.
Okay. So the next thing that we actually spend money on, all right, we got to know in the comment section, are you guys in with us on this expense? Because this is very important to us. Larry, what do we spend money on?
You're going to be on a roll on this one, I think.
We are on a roll, guys, because it is two-ply soft toilet paper. Yes. Now, I'm telling you, man, that one-ply stuff, that off-brand stuff, that scratchy stuff, not going to happen. We don't want that stuff in the house. And I know that seems kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like weird. I don't think it's weird. I think soft two-ply toilet paper is really important. We do buy the Sam's brand because it actually is really nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what their name of brand is.
I don't know, but it is nice toilet paper.
That's good.
But I am dead serious when I tell you this is a discussion that we have had, that we don't want any like cheap off-brand toilet paper in the house.
All right.
All right. So the next thing we spend money on, this is my area.
Well, Hope calls these her kitchen helpers. And she has spent some serious money on these, but the dividend is worth it. So one of the first items that she bought, and I have to say my jaw dropped a little at the price that she laid out on this, but it's a Bosch mixer. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with KitchenAid mixers, and those are really good. But the Bosch mixer will do a little better job in the long run with kneading dough. And before that, we used Sunbeam Mix Masters. You remember those Sunbeam?
Oh gosh.
Now they were just good for making like cakes and stuff. They weren't good for kneading bread dough. But my mom had one of those from about 1947 to about I think 2000. She had that a long time. It lasted her a lifetime.
Okay, guys, the Bosch mixer has a very large bowl. It has a bread kneader attachment. I just put it in there. It kneads the bread dough for me. Look, I was making bread every single week from scratch for our family, and I needed a mixer that would allow me to get 17 cups of fresh ground whole wheat flour in it, and it had to have a strong enough RPM motor to turn the bread dough and knead it for me, and the Bosch does the job. I paid about $450 for it. Yes, I did. It's been worth every penny of it because I have used it well over 15 years, and I've used it hard with absolutely no problems.
Yeah.
What's the next kitchen helper that I bought, honey?
Well, you bought a grain mill, and that's what she uses to grind up all of her red wheat and so on to make the bread.
Yeah, so I buy the wheat kernels, I grind them from scratch to make the flour, and I bought a family grain mill. It is made in Germany, and I think about 15 or 17 years ago or so, I think I paid between $250 and $350 for it.
And it was cheaper than buying 2 oxen and all the other things that you would need to do it that way.
You're lucky I didn't ask you for that. I'm just saying. All right. So the next thing I have is I have a high quality blender. I have a Blend Tech, which I absolutely love. And what did I pay for that, honey?
I can't remember. It was an astronomical amount, but what was it? Oh, that's right. It was given to her.
It was a gift from my amazing sister, Robin. And she got a brand new mixer from her husband. And she had a Blend Tech, and she brought me the Blend Tech and gave it to me.
Very
very
generous.
nice gift. Very generous sister.
What do they cost new? Any ideas?
$300-$400 probably for a
Yeah.
Blend Tech. So those are my kitchen helpers. Now, did I spend? Somebody's probably been using their calculator. Okay, I'm gonna say in all of that we have close to $1,200 just for those 3 items. How was it worth what I paid for it? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was,
I knew I would use them. I knew I would use them hard, and they've been worth every single penny that I have paid for them. We want to hear from you in the comments section. What are those items that you're like, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to compromise on this. I will spend good hard-earned money on these items. What is it that is super important to you that you are willing to spend money on those items? And we would love to hear from you in the comments sections. Those were our top 8. I know I said 7 at the beginning of the video. I threw an extra one in there because I threw the toilet paper in. All right, those are the 8 items that we actually spend a lot of money on. And have we regretted it in the least?
No,
not
no.
at all. All right. Talk to us in the comments section. What do you spend your money on? Make sure you give this a thumbs up, give it a like. Make sure you subscribe to Under the Median and hit that notification bell because it's going to tell you every time we drop a brand new video. We will see y'all on Friday for Frugal Friday Tips.
I can hear the bell.
Yes. And every time you hear a bell ring, an angel gets his wings.
Well, anyway, and then so we've been going over to her house a lot and watching movies.
Yeah.
And
We've really gotten into old movies. I have watched It's a Wonderful Life 4 times so far this holiday season.
hey, wait a minute, you're on
Actually,
here.
in the past.
You hear this fascinating true story
this is
Friday
Hope.
at
You
3
can't
here
hear it.
on WPEO.
This is a recording I made
Unshackled
of-
is brought
of
to
Hope.
us by the Peoria Rescue Mission.
When I was hungry.
Yeah, this is
Why
a
is
real
it on
bad.
there?
This is a real
40
bad
minutes
recording
past
that I
6
made of
o'clock.
her.
It's time now for the King's Hour with your host, Dr. Robert A. Cook. He's the Chancellor of the King's College in Briarcliff Manor, New York. Now here's Dr. Cook.
All right, thank you very much.
Be sure to mention WPEO when you write to Dr. Cook, addressing your letter to the King's College, Briarcliff Manor, New York, 10510.
That was a bad recording.
Yeah,
I was.
This is the license plate off of my very first car, my 1973 Volkswagen Super Beetle. I bought the car in 1976 when the state of Illinois was celebrating the country's bicentennial year. And those keys are the original keys to that car.